The Matrix is a movie about the future, where machines have taken over humanity and trapped people inside a virtual reality. But the real horror of the film isn't the robots. It's the fact that a person can live their entire life inside a system and never even realize it. From the very beginning, Neo senses that something is wrong with the world. Everything around him seems normal: the job, the city, the people, the familiar routine. But deep down, there's a strange feeling that reality was put together by someone else. That's why the red pill became such an iconic symbol. It isn't simply a choice between knowledge and ignorance. It's a choice between a comfortable lie and the truth, a truth that can destroy everything you believed in. The film was released in the late 1990s, when the internet, computers, and corporations were beginning to reshape people's lives more and more. That's why The Matrix wasn't only about a virtual world. It was about the systems that shape our desires, fears, goals, and even our perception of ourselves. The film's central question isn't whether the reality surrounding Neo is real, it's how much of our own lives is truly chosen by us, and how much has simply been programmed into us from the outside. Fight Club is often seen as a movie about fighting, male aggression, and rebellion against the rules. But if you look closer, violence isn't the trigger here. It's more of a symptom. The main character lives in a world where people are constantly told, buy the right furniture, the right clothes, the right things, and you'll finally become who you are. But the opposite happens. His apartment is full of possessions. His life looks put together from the outside. He has a job, he has order, but inside, there's nothing. He doesn't feel alive. And then Tyler Durden appears. At first glance, Tyler seems like liberation. He says the things people are afraid to say out loud, destroys familiar rules, and offers a way out of the system. But this is where the movie becomes more unsettling. Because Tyler doesn't truly set the protagonist free. He simply replaces one dependency with another. Instead of consumerism, there's a cult of strength. Instead of an office and furniture, there's submission to a new ideology. Instead of someone else's advertising, there's someone else's will. The hidden meaning of Fight Club is that emptiness can make a person mistake destruction for freedom. And the most dangerous escape is the one after which you don't even realize that you've ended up back inside the cage. The Truman Show looks like a story about an unusual television show. It's a film about a man whose life isn't simply being watched. Every part of it is scripted and created for him. Truman lives in a world where everything seems ordinary. He has a home, a job, familiar faces, and a predictable routine. But that's exactly what makes it so unsettling. Almost everyone around him is playing a role. The smiles seem unnatural, the lines sound rehearsed, and the coincidences turn out not to be coincidences at all. His entire reality is built on control. The film is frightening, not only because Truman is being deceived, but because it shows how long a person can fail to notice the deception when the world around them is comfortable and familiar. When people are given comfort, stability, and the illusion of safety, they stop asking questions. That's why The Truman Show feels especially disturbing today. The film offers a warning. A real prison doesn't always look like a prison. Sometimes it looks like an ordinary life in which someone else decides what you're allowed to know, think about, and see. What if the central question in Inception isn't whether it's a dream or reality? The film appears to be a story about dream heists, complex layers of the subconscious, and a mission where one mistake can trap someone forever. But the real labyrinth isn't inside someone else's mind, it's inside Cobb himself. He knows how to build entire worlds, control dreams, and deceive reality. But there's one thing he can't control: his own guilt. His wife and the memories of the past that keep returning become a trap more powerful than any dream. That's why the worlds in Inception are so beautiful, yet unstable. They collapse not because of the laws of physics, but because of the pain the protagonist carries inside. Cobb is trying to get home, but what he really needs to escape isn't the dream, it's the past. The final spinning top leaves us wondering, will it fall, or will it keep spinning? But perhaps Cobb has already made his choice. He stops watching the top and walks toward his children. In that case, the central question takes on a different meaning. If a person has finally let go of their pain, does it really matter where they woke up? Isn't just a story about a poor family trying to deceive their way into the lives of the rich. At its core, the film is about class inequality, and the invisible boundaries that are incredibly difficult to cross. Pay attention to where the characters live. The Kim family lives in a semi-basement apartment, almost underground. Their windows are at street level, where dirt, smog, and floodwater seep in. The Park family, on the other hand, lives high above the city in a spacious, spotless house. These aren't just sets. The film's architecture represents the social ladder. Some people are at the bottom, while others are on top. But the most disturbing thing about Parasite is that the rich don't seem like monsters. They're polite, calm, and even likable. Their comfort is simply built on the fact that someone else has to be nearby while remaining invisible to clean, cook, and serve them. That's the hidden meaning of the film. Poverty isn't just a lack of money. It's a place society seems to lock a person into a place where their smell, home, job, and even their presence become things the rich notice only when they disturb their comfort. Parasite shows that the real divide between people isn't measured only by money, but also by space, status, and the right to be seen. Joker is often seen as the origin story of the famous comic book villain. But if you look deeper, the film is less about a criminal and more about a man whom no one wanted to notice for far too long. Arthur Fleck isn't portrayed as a hero, and the film doesn't ask us to justify his actions. Instead, it shows how loneliness, humiliation, and the lack of support gradually destroy a person from the inside. Arthur tries to live a normal life, work, take care of his mother, and seek help. But every time, he is met with coldness, ridicule, or indifference. Gotham appears dirty, tense, and sick. And that matters. The city becomes a reflection of Arthur's inner state. He is surrounded by a society where it's easier to ignore poor and vulnerable people than to listen to them. A society where someone else's pain becomes an uncomfortable detail everyone turns away from. The main point of Joker isn't that violence can be justified. The point is something else. If society spends years telling a person that they're unwanted and that no one needs them, eventually, that despair may erupt. And then what's frightening isn't only what Arthur becomes. What's frightening is how many people around him pretended that nothing was happening. The Dark Knight isn't just a film about the conflict between Batman and the Joker. It's a story about how fragile order can be when it's held together only by fear, laws, and beautiful symbols. Batman tries to protect Gotham, but he also wants to believe that even in a corrupt city, rules still matter. He doesn't want to become like the criminals. For him, it's important not only to defeat evil, but also not to lose the moral line that separates him from it. The Joker, on the other hand, arrives as a test for the entire city. He doesn't simply kill and spread chaos. He tries to prove that people's morality is just a thin outer shell that disappears when fear takes over. Give a person enough pain, an impossible choice, and panic, and they will destroy their own principles. That's why Harvey Dent is so important. At first, he's a symbol of hope, Gotham's White Knight, a man people believe in. But after the tragedy, he becomes proof of the Joker's idea. Even the brightest image can break when trust is destroyed and meaning is taken away. The hidden meaning of the film is that civilization is held together by more than just laws. It depends on people's faith in one another. And when that faith disappears, chaos doesn't begin in the streets, it begins inside good people. Titanic is most often remembered as the great love story of Jack and Rose. But behind the romance lies a deeper meaning. The film explores class inequality and the dangerous illusion of control. The ship itself is portrayed as more than just a means of transportation. The Titanic is a symbol of human arrogance. It is called unsinkable, and people marvel at its size, luxury, and technological perfection. It seems as though humanity has created something capable of conquering nature. But this confidence also reflects the society on board. The wealthy passengers live above deck in luxurious halls surrounded by status and privilege. The poor live below in cramped cabins, as if they belong to another world, and many of those above believe that their position makes them more important, more deserving, and even safer. That's why Jack and Rose's love is so important. It breaks down the boundaries between these worlds. Jack shows Rose a life beyond class, expectations, and other people's control. The belief that wealth, status, and technology can protect us from everything begins to collapse. The hidden meaning of Titanic is that the disaster destroys more than just a ship. It destroys an entire world that believed itself untouchable.